just staying plugged in this crazy time that we're living in. I'm here over Zoom with Robert MacPartland, who was the bass player on Manhattan Project, but is more importantly just a great dude who is also a good buddy of mine. Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm surviving this quarantine
Yeah, and
as best as we can.
you are newly married, so congratulations.
I am. Thank you.
So I know it's been a minute since we did the recording of this project, but I know at least for me it was a very unique experience, both musically, emotionally, all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to ask you, kind of now that we've had some time to ruminate on it, what was the overall emotional experience of playing this music like for you? Like just walk through kind of what your thought process was playing the music and what your like experience was performing it with such a heavy topic.
Yeah, that's the exact word I was thinking. Is it's really heavy. There's just so much emotionally there to try and grasp and capture and wrestle with throughout the performance. There's a lot of weight to the history. Like as an artist, you have to capture like the pain of the people who died and the people who survived them, and just like the guilt of the some of the people who made that happen and have to live with like that big mass destruction that happened, and um, the struggle of needing to kill for peace stuff, and the very difficult, the weighty implications of all of that are really challenging. Um and then you also got like the hope of reparation. Like we hope that after this there can be a level of peace that there wasn't, and to an extent that has happened, but there's still a lot of brokenness out there and stuff. And even today, just like there's still the worry of nuclear warfare that could happen now that we have this technology, and
Yeah.
that like the project deals so heavily with. It was heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine. And you kind of touched on this a little bit, but even thinking necessarily a little, maybe even beyond the nuclear thing, if you have something or musically or whatever, um, how do you see this record kind of as relevant to the here and now? Because obviously we're not in a position now where, well, right now we're not in a position where anybody's really thinking about nuclear war. We're all thinking about COVID-19, but
Right.
um, how do you see this as relevant, I guess, in any sense of the word to right now?
The first thing I tried to think about was like, how does this relate to the lockdown situation that we're all in? And really, the only parallel there that I saw was um, just the dealing with a sudden like mass death among all these people. Like, I think probably most people at this point know someone who has died from this, and that's scary.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think the more direct relation that this project touches on today is, um, I mean, we're kind of on pause from it right now, but there's just still the ever looming possibility of nuclear war now that this weaponry exists. That um, it there's just a gravity of the destruction of that we still wrestle with. It's still, I feel like, we're a recent enough part of our past that we're not we haven't seen all of the implications play out yet, all of the effects, the rippling that have gone out from this. And then um and I feel like this album, it's interesting. It doesn't offer a solution to that. It's more of it's a reflection on it more so. It's a way to, the album doesn't doesn't say where do we go from here. It acknowledges this is where we are,
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I like that it's a way to emotionally process through the fears and everything. Like, I don't understand what's going on in this world right now because we're not that smart.
I don't think
But,
anyone does.
but there's just like with North Korea, with his heart surgery stuff over
Mhm.
there, it leaves questions like, what's gonna happen with this? Is like, there's a lot of scary things in this world that we
Yeah,
get to address and deal with.
that's absolutely true. Yeah. Kind of speaking a little bit to that, you touched on how you like how it is more reflective than prescriptive, and it kind of presents like this is where we are instead of, you know, where do we go from here, or trying to offer a solution kind of thing. Um, Kind of related a little bit to that, I was curious, either musically or non-musically or any part of it, do you have a is there a moment on the record that really stands out to you, either as a player or a listener, that you really enjoyed, either listening to or performing?
Yeah. So musically, the parts that the two parts that stand out to me are the last movement,
Mm-hmm.
just the piece of it from that track 10, and it's it was a really nice way to close it out. And that, um for those people who haven't heard it yet, it's kind of a reaction in the here and now, where a lot of the album takes place in the process of, like, from the idealized conception of the nuclear bombs to the bomb dropping and the aftermath. But then this movement is the reflection of, from your point of view, Denon, of, I live in the, I'm from the town with the B reactor and stuff. And so it's a really good way of processing your thoughts. And so I loved that. And then the other one that really jumps out as probably my favorite is the, how did you describe it? A blues that's in 15 that's not a blues.
Yeah,
Was
it's
that
movement 5, I think it's called
up in?
Trinity.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I always mix up the titles of everything that I play ever. But yeah, the Trinity movement was probably, or just the intensity that's captured on that track was a lot of fun to put together, and a lot of, like, just being a part of that ensemble was really fun musically, with Steven just being a beast on the drums, and just the intensity that built soloistically was incredible. It was,
Yeah.
but then my favorite part of the entire project altogether was when we were performing it, I think it was the Friday before we went in on Sunday and recorded. And I think my favorite part of the whole thing was the silences
Hmm.
across the whole room, like, particularly after, is it movement 6 where the bomb drops?
Movement 7. Movement
Oh,
7.
yes. So particularly right after that, where we build up to this very intense point, and it just can't get any crazier, and then it actually drops, and there's just silence. Spoiler alert, there's just silence. And hearing that, seeing and being in that whole room of people, where we had the video that was matching it to just show kind of the pilot flying and dropping this in, it just, as soon as it stopped, there was just nothing, and the whole crowd was, like, absolutely awestruck and just frozen. It was
Mm-hmm.
incredible. I think
And
that
that
was the
movement,
part.
I think emotionally, that movement is very difficult too, because um, as people will learn in the composer notes video that I'm putting together, It's that movement is completely free. I gave the band a sheet with 3 things on it. The first line was the 2 motifs that the pieces build off of. The second line was just a cluster of random notes with the words "absolute pandemonium" on it, and then the last line is just a fermata over a whole rest.
Yeah.
And the band did a wonderful job interpreting that. I had struggled with how to address such a catastrophic event with so many ethical constraints and considerations on it. I'd really struggled to write something for that. And so finally I just said, what if I didn't write anything? And the band did a great job with that.
Yeah, I think that was like that movement was definitely the most challenging thing that I had to do in the whole project because
Mm-hmm.
um I mean, like you said, it was just those 3 little things that I didn't even look at the note cluster at the bottom. The really challenging thing was like especially during the performance of it when there's the video and just the way we were set up, I couldn't see it very well because we were facing the other way.
Mm-hmm.
There was kind of a window in the back of the room where I could see a reflection a little bit to just
Yeah.
have an idea of what was going on. And like when you see from the pilot's viewpoint, you just kind of put yourself in his shoes. And as we're building, it felt like as that pilot like gets closer, like he knows what's going to happen. Probably, I can't imagine that he would comprehend the weight of and the magnitude of it, but
Yeah.
but just like approaching the drop point and stuff as it gets closer, it builds like um I think it's just like putting yourself in those shoes and just thinking about and knowing what's going to happen and not being able to grasp it or stop it in any way, but and then once it builds to that certain point and there's no going back and it drops, then there's what 45 seconds for it to drop.
Mm-hmm.
Was it? Then in those 45 seconds, the feeling of there's no going back now, and then when it happens, it's just terrifying is the word for it. It's so powerful. Everything
yeah.
That's heavy.
Man, as I'm doing this, I'm thinking like, man, maybe I should write a suite of music about bunnies or something. Something happy. So kind of it's kind of a wrap up question. Going forward, what do you see yourself kind of taking from this project into your own music, your own life? I guess how do you see this maybe not yet or already kind of manifesting in your approach to music or life or anything kind of like that?
In that performance, that was a really rare musical experience where it felt a lot bigger than us. Like you could look out when we're playing on there, you could look out into the audience and they're not looking at the band. They're like reading the words on the screen or watching the videos and everything in there. And so when we do that project right, it's not about us or the music. We're just kind of taking their emotions and like dragging them through this and so it was a really unique experience getting to do that, and it was really cool to be a performer in a way that wasn't about the music at all in a sense, but the music was the catalyst for it. It's weird. There's like I've played in wedding bands a lot and I love that, and I feel like that's the equal opposite end of where it's like it's not about the music, but the music helps people dance.
Yeah.
Well, the music it's not about the music, but the music helps people process a really heavy thing. That was I don't know. I feel like that's one of the goals as a musician is to try and um, mess with the audience's emotions, and like a project like this is making them feel something that
Yeah.
they otherwise wouldn't or couldn't, or something where maybe it gives a voice for some people to emotions that they already are feeling,
Yeah.
you know. So that was really cool. I want to, like, I feel like I just want to be able to do that with my music always, is get people, is to really have that effect on them so successfully.
Absolutely. And man, your bass playing, listening back to the record now, really laid a foundation for us. And man, you really contributed. What you contributed to the record is really incredible. So as a composer and performer, I can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. It was the music was really good. There was a lot to work with. So
Well, thanks.
the band was just like you and Stephen Morris and Seiji Yamashita and Jonathan Bumpus. Um, James was on viola on the last, I think.
Mm-hmm.
David Forney was doing some like narrating and stuff on the performance, and it was just an incredible group of musicians to work with, and good really well written music and stuff. So it was easy to fit in.
Yeah, speaking for myself, it was a great experience just playing it as well. But well, thank you so much for hanging out today, Rob. I'm sure I'll see you again soon, someday in the hopefully not too distant future, and we'll be able to play together again. And
yeah, hopefully we can play this music together at some point again when all this thing blows over.
oh, I hope so. I'm sure we will someday. Well, thanks so much, Rob. You stay safe out there.
Thanks, you too.